I never believed my life would turn upside down from a single meeting. But that's exactly what happened when Naomi stepped into my gym. My days were routine before her. Labor, sweat, sleep, repeat. As a personal trainer, I spent my time pushing clients to lift heavier, run faster, and eat cleaner, all while keeping my own life simple and free of chaos. No drama, no complications, just me and the weights. Then she showed up. Naomi wasn't loud or flashy, but there was something about her, a quiet strength that made me look twice. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and her eyes had this spark, like she knew exactly who she was. I offered her a trial session, expecting her to be like any other client. But she wasn't. One session turned into a week, then a month. She was consistent, showing up every Tuesday and Thursday without fail. And before I knew it, I started looking forward to those days more than I'd admit. At first, we made small talk between sets. Her favorite protein shake, how much she hated cardio. But over time, our conversations deepened. I learned she came from a close-knit family. They stuck together through thick and thin, even when money was tight. Her mom, Patricia, was the backbone. Her younger sister, Brielle, was the wild card. Always. Dreaming big but never quite landing on her feet. Naomi was the glue, the one they all leaned on. And I could tell it weighed on her. She never complained. She'd just laugh it off and say, "They're my people." Like that explained everything. I don't know when I started falling for her, but I remember the exact moment I realized I was in deep. It was after a brutal workout, burpees and deadlifts. Had her dripping sweat, yet she still grinned at me like she'd won a prize. We were wiping down the mats when she caught me off guard. "Come over for dinner," she said. Casual voice, but her eyes were locked on mine. "You can meet my mom and try that family recipe I keep talking about, the one with the secret sauce." I hesitated, half wanting to say yes, half wondering if I was ready to step into her world. But that smile of hers made it impossible to say no. "Yeah," I whispered, trying to sound calm, even though my pulse was racing faster than it did. During sprints, that meal changed everything. I showed up at their small, cramped house with a bottle of cheap wine, feeling out of place in my gym shorts and hoodie. Patricia met me at the door. Polite smile, careful words, but I could tell she was sizing me up. She was older, maybe in her late 50s, with sharp eyes that didn't miss a thing. Brielle, on the other hand, didn't even try to hide her feelings. She barely looked at me, gave a quick nod, then disappeared into her room. The food was amazing, some kind of spicy chicken dish that Naomi swore was a family secret. We laughed about how I couldn't handle the heat, but beneath the friendly banter, there was tension I couldn't shake. Patricia asked too many questions. Where did I work? How much did I make? What were my plans? Brielle popped in just long enough to roll her eyes at my answers. Naomi tried to keep the peace, squeezing my hand under the table. But I could tell she felt it too. Driving home that night, my mind was spinning. I liked Naomi, really liked her, but that dinner wasn't just a meal. It was a preview of what I was signing up for. Her family wasn't just close. They were tangled up in each other. I could see it in the way Patricia leaned on Naomi for reassurance. The way Brielle expected her to fix everything. They weren't. Just her mom and sister. They were a package deal, and I wasn't sure where I fit into that. Part of me wanted to run, to keep my simple life intact. But another part? It couldn't stop thinking about Naomi's laugh, the way she looked at me like I mattered. As I pulled into my driveway, I gripped the steering wheel and stared at the dark street ahead. I wasn't just dating her. I was stepping into their dreams, their struggles, their mess, and I had no idea what that would mean for me. But here's the thing. I didn't turn back. Maybe I should have. But I didn't. Naomi had this pull, this way of making me feel like I could handle anything, even her family. So, I kept going, kept showing up, kept letting her in. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had just crossed a line I didn't fully understand. Patricia's careful stare, Brielle's cold shoulder, Naomi's warm touch in mine. It all swirled in my head. I told myself it was just dinner, just a first step. But deep down, I knew better. My simple life was gone. This was the start of something bigger, something I couldn't control, and I was already too deep to walk away. I was working overtime to keep food on the table for all of them. What kind of parent are you? I'd clench my fists under the table, my jaw stiff, but I wouldn't snap back. Not with Lucas there, watching me with those huge, interested eyes. I'd scoop him up, take him outside and breathe, telling myself I could handle it. For him, for Naomi. Naomi saw it all, but she wouldn't call them out. We'd be in bed, Lucas asleep between us, and I'd try to talk. Your mom and sister. They treat me like garbage, I'd remark, keeping my voice low. She'd sigh, roll over, and put her palm on my arm. They don't mean it that way, she'd say. They're just anxious. Just ignore it. Ignore it. How do you ignore your mother-in-law laughing at your salary in front of strangers? How do you ignore your sister-in-law acting like you're a deadbeat when you're busting your back to keep them afloat? But I'd gaze at Naomi, her face soft in the dark, and I'd let it go. She was still my wife, still the woman I'd fallen for, and I didn't want to push her away. So I ignored it, for months, then years. Swallowing, the anger, the frustration, realizing that I was losing myself in this house. Lucas grew fast, crawling, then walking, then mumbling stuff that made me grin like an idiot. He was my light, the reason I kept going. I'd get home, fatigued, and he'd toddle, over, arms up, calling Dada in that high little voice. I'd lift him, whirl him around, and for a minute, the weight of Patricia and Brielle would lift. But it always came back. The costs kept stacking up. Diapers, doctor visits, gifts, and I paid them all. Patricia's emergencies never stopped. Brielle's laziness got worse. I was still the outsider, the guy they leaned on, but never thanked. One night, after a 12-hour shift, I sat on the couch with Lucas asleep on my chest, his little breaths warm against me. Patricia walked by, peered at us, and whispered, "Hope you're saving up. He's only going to get more expensive." I didn't answer, just gazed at the TV, my throat tight. Naomi came in, kissed my forehead, and said, "You're a nice dad." I wanted to believe her, but I didn't feel good. I felt imprisoned. Years went by like that, a monotonous slog of effort and discontent. Lucas was 3 now, a ball of energy with Naomi's eyes and my rebellious streak. I loved him more than anything, but this family, this house, wasn't mine. It belonged to Patricia and Brielle, and I was just the guy keeping it going. I'd gaze at Naomi, still defending them, still urging me to be patient, and I'd wonder, how much longer could I take it? I'd given them everything, my money, my effort, my pride, and gotten nothing back. Sitting there, with Lucas's head on my shoulder, I realized something. I wasn't his dad here. Not truly. I was their servant, and I didn't know if I could keep doing it. By the time Lucas was 4, I was stretched so thin I barely recognized myself. The gym was still my universe. Training clients, pushing them past their limits, feeling that rush when they set a new personal best. But I'd carried it further. I'd begun something greater. I created an online fitness company, YouTube videos, Instagram posts, workout ideas I sold to individuals all over the country. It wasn't just a side hustle anymore. It was blowing up. My channel had hundreds of subscribers. My articles got likes and shares I couldn't keep up with, and the money started coming in. Real money. More than I'd ever made at the gym alone. I'd sit at my computer late at night, Lucas asleep down the hall, and watched the numbers grow. It felt amazing, like I was finally constructing something. For me? For us? I believed it'd be my way out. A chance to get Naomi and Lucas into our own apartment. Away from Patricia and Brielle's steady drain. Yet that dream didn't last long. Every dime I made seemed to go into their hands before I could even touch it. It was the same old scenario, just with greater stakes. I'd come home with a paycheck, proud of what I'd earned, and Patricia would be there, her voice